Well, mine is, have you heard the saying of it's turtles all the way down?
I haven't actually, no.
Okay, so the premise of that, I don't know if you've seen the image as well. I can't remember what theology this is, but it's like, it's a big turtle that's holding the earth, and there's another bigger turtle underneath that one. There's another big turtle,
Okay.
and the premise is, well, there's it's turtles all the way down.
Okay.
In a bit of a saying of, this is held by something, and it's held by something else, and it's held by something else.
Okay, yeah.
Now, I recently listened to a podcast that was with Edward Slingerland. I thought the name was pretty cool, and with Joe Rogan, and they were talking about alcohol predominantly. But one of the things that they were saying there, as I said, it's not turtles all the way down, but drugs all the way down. Or chemicals all the way down. So they had an interesting conversation about alcohol and how a lot of people believe that agriculture sort of came around and then alcohol started being used, and then he was kind of showing, and a lot of remnants were being picked up around how alcohol existed probably like 13,000 years ago, a long time ago. And even more predominantly how like alcohol was being used for just a whole ton of things. And from his perspective was saying, he thinks that probably the use of alcohol and the ritual natures of it, and in tribes, is probably what drove people to actually start crops and whatnot, so they could have more alcohol to actually do their rituals and everything else that they were doing. And in that particular podcast, I was talking about how everything, whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs, whether it's psilocybin, etc., it's like all of these drugs or chemical reactions can change your mindset to just absolutely whatever it may be. And just how you can view alcohol, and the conversation they were having, it was like a positive view about alcohol. They're like, oh, well, look at all these good stuff that alcohol can do, because they were giving one example, say 4,000 years ago, and they were having a ritual, and just the use of alcohol would make sure that your prefrontal cortex would kind of like slow down, and so you'd be more creative. And then because you're more creative, now you can have more conversations and do all this sort of stuff. And again, they were showing how Edward, even himself, he was writing the book about alcohol, but he wasn't drinking while writing the book until he started writing it and went, oh, it's the alcohol is actually improving this. Oh, fantastic. Obviously in moderation, right? In moderation. But the main point that I took away was, man, it's just about chemicals. It's always just about whatever chemicals. And for me, I view it as, okay, there's physics at the base level, and maybe mathematics if we're going to talk about it that way, but then it's like chemistry and the chemicals that come along with it. And maybe the stigma? No.
Stigma?
Yeah, stigma behind alcohol as like, that's a negative, right? It's a negative thing. Like, you have to drink alcohol every day to like write a book. Boo!
Yeah.
Boo.
You'd get judged for that if you said that.
If you then think about it as just chemicals, right? Just purely in the chemical sense, whether maybe it's alcohol or exercise or something else to doing it, but you're getting the same chemical reactions or similar chemical paths that's allowing you to do things, and you remain what the object is that creates it. Well, all of a sudden it changes completely different, because whether you like it or not, it's not like your atoms or your chemicals and electrodes care or how the hell you're doing anything, or your brain, like your prefrontal cortex doesn't care how you're like switching it off and becoming more creative. It just will do it based on the stimuli that you provide. So it made me change my mind a little bit on, say, even just alcohol, maybe on drugs as well, to go, maybe if someone decides like, oh yeah, I'm really, I'm not very creative, perhaps having one drink or two drinks and going, okay, well, that'll loosen you up. It'll help you be more creative. It'll sort of chain you away from being super conscious and help you do that. Obviously, if you're keeping safe in moderation,